Nathan, and then after Nathan is Kevin Joe. Let's see. Nathan.
Hello.
I've enjoyed working with Nathan this year. I think it took a little while to get settled in on a topic, but he got this one and ran with it. These are his words. He says, I would like to thank my parents, my advisor, Mr. Hans, Mr. Wade, and Miss Maymay, and all the teachers who guided me through this thesis. Without their help, I would not have perfected this paper. Would not have perfected this paper. Title is Gotta Catch 'Em All, Why Collectibles Are a Marketer's Most Underused Tool. Let me say that again. Sorry. Gotta catch 'em all. Why collectibles are a marketer's most underused tool. Give me a second to set up the timer, and I'll tell you when you can start. Okay, you can start when ready.
Hello. Okay. Think about this for a second. You're cleaning your room, and suddenly you find something old. Maybe it's a card, maybe it's a toy, but no, it's just a small cardboard box. The plastic wrapping was still shining under the light. Inside is a limited edition figurine. It's not expensive, it's not useful, but for some reason, you don't throw it away. You stop, you look at it, and suddenly you remember something, a moment, a person, a time in your life. For a second, it doesn't feel like you're holding onto an object. It feels like you're holding onto a part of your past. Now here's the question. If that one small object can do all of that, then why are companies still treating collectibles like they don't even matter? Today, collectibles are everywhere, from Pokemon cards, sneakers, toys, and even digital items. What begins as a simple purchase quickly turns into something more lasting. When companies create collectibles, they're not simply selling products. They create systems that keep people interested, increase demand, and maintain their engagement. Some people think they're just trends, or even a waste of money. But that idea misses something important. Collectibles aren't just extra products. When used correctly, they create emotional connection, generate economic value, and build long-term engagement. Collecting as a hobby started many centuries ago. In ancient times, the ancient Greeks and Romans collected coins and arts as symbol of status. During the Renaissance, people created cabinets of curiosities filled with rare objects. By the 19th century, stamp and coin collecting became global hobbies. In the modern era, trading cards and branded collectibles expanded worldwide, especially with companies like Topps. Today, collecting continues to grow both across physical and digital markets. This history shows that collecting has just never been about owning things. It has always been about meaning, identity, and value, and that is exactly what makes it so relevant to today's modern marketing. Collectibles today cover a wide range of items, including trading cards, sneakers, toys, coins, and even digital assets. Around the world, millions of people actively collect these items. In the United States, about 61% of adults consider themselves as collectors, and among them, 83% believe their collection will gain value over time. In Australia, more than 1 in 4 adults collect items, and over 40% say they collect for financial reasons. These numbers show that collecting is not just a small hobby, but a global activity with both emotional and economic impact. It also shows that people are not just buying things randomly. Many are collecting with intention, whether that's for memory, identity, or future value. In other words, collecting is not just something people do. It's something people believe in. A collectible refers to an item that becomes worth far more than it was originally sold for, usually because of its rarity or popularity. Its value often depends on factors such as condition, age, limited supply, and cultural significance. Not every product becomes a collectible because value is not simply decided by the company. It develops through demand and meaning over time. In other words, an item becomes a collectible when people choose to give it importance, whether emotionally, culturally, or financially. This makes collectibles different from ordinary products because their value continues to grow even after the point of purchase. A regular product is used and forgotten. However, a collectible is kept and remembered. That raises an important question. If collectibles clearly have this kind of value, why aren't more companies using them deliberately and strategically? Well, as competition continues to grow, companies are finding it harder to keep people interested. Traditional advertising is easy to ignore, and consumers are starting to look for something more meaningful. They want something they can connect to, not just something they can consume. As a result, businesses are now faced with a clear decision: continue on relying short-term promotions or focus on strategies that build long-term connections. This decision matters because it affects how brands are remembered and whether customers choose to stay loyal. Over time, it determines whether companies build lasting relationships or constantly struggle to regain attention. Right now, many companies do use collectibles, but often without a clear plan. Some treat them as simple add-ons, while others use them to create excitement without thinking long-term. This leads to another important question. Can collectibles be used as a central part of a marketing strategy? The answer is simple. Yes, it can. Companies should strategically use collectibles as part of their marketing strategies because collectibles create emotional connection, generate economic value, and build long-term consumer engagement. The first reason that collectibles should be used as a part of marketing strategies is that they create emotional and nostalgic connections that enhance the bond between consumers and brands. Nostalgia is a very powerful emotion. It brings feelings like comfort and familiarity, and it shapes how people remember products. Research shows that nostalgia increases emotional connection and engagement with items linked to personal memories. Collectibles also strengthen a person's sense of identity and belonging, making brands feel more personal. A collectible takes this one step further by making that feeling physical. Unlike an ad that disappears, a collectible stays. You can see it, hold it, and even return to it. But nostalgia doesn't just come from any product. For something to feel nostalgic, it has to represent memory or experience. That's why collectibles work so well. They hold personal meaning. People don't keep them because they're useful. They keep them because they remember something. In a way, people aren't collecting objects, they're collecting memories. Sometimes that meaning is discovered in unexpected ways. In 2016, a family cleaning out an old house found a crumpled paper bag that looked like trash. Inside were actually 7 baseball cards from around 1909. At first, they didn't think much of it, but those cards turned out to be very extremely rare, worth over $1 million. That discovery became known as the Lucky 7 find. Stories like this show that collectibles don't just carry financial value, they carry history, memory, and meaning. Because of this, collectibles drive repeated behavior and long-term loyalty. People come back to the same brands, not just to buy, but to feel something again. You can see this with things like sneaker drops, Pokemon cards, or even McDonald's collectible releases. These products often sell out quickly, not because people need them, but because they connect to memories. When a product creates this kind of emotional response, it builds habit, and over time, that habit becomes loyalty. Beyond emotional attachment, there's also a financial side to this. Collectibles strengthen marketing strategies by generating economic value that benefits both companies and consumers. Unlike ordinary products that lose value after purchase, collectibles can keep their value or even increase over time. This is mainly because of scarcity. When supply is limited, demand increases. People are more willing to buy quickly and sometimes even at higher prices because they simply don't want to miss out. For example, limited edition sneakers often resell for 2 or even 3 times their original price within days of release. The same thing happens with rare trading cards, where a single card can be worth thousands of dollars depending on its rarity and condition. In fact, this isn't just a theory. In 1998, a man named Gary Haas started buying Pokemon cards. At the time, people thought he was wasting money on something worthless. But he kept collecting carefully and held onto his cards for years. Today, his collection is worth over $10 million, and he's known as King Pokemon. What's important here is that his success wasn't based on luck. It was based on understanding rarity and holding onto something others ignored. This shows how collectibles can grow in value over time when demand and rarity increases. And this kind of growth changes how people see the product itself. It's no longer just something to use. It becomes something to hold onto, track, and even invest in. That shift in mindset is what makes collectibles so powerful in a market. This value continues even after the original purchase. Collectors can resell, track prices, and stay involved in the market. When items resell at higher prices, it signals strong demand and increases a brand's reputation. For example, certain sneakers released by Nike or limited edition Pokemon cards often resell for much higher prices online, showing how strong demand can drive value long after its original release. So, instead of being one-time purchases, collectibles create ongoing economic activity. And what makes this even more interesting is that this activity doesn't just stop after the first sale. It continues between consumers through reselling, trading, and collecting over time. This keeps people involved in the brand long after the product is released. In a way, the product doesn't just create value once, it keeps creating value again and again. They benefit companies through demand and profit, and they benefit consumers through value and opportunity. This keeps the market active even without new releases. People stay involved not because they have to, but because the system itself keeps them engaged. But emotional and financial value aren't the only advantages. Collectibles actively function as powerful long-term advertisements that outperform temporary promotional campaigns. Traditional ads are temporary. They appear for a short time, then disappear. Collectibles are different. They stay in people's daily lives, on desks, shelves, bags, and even personal spaces. This means that brands stay visible without needing constant advertising. Research shows that repeated exposure improves brand recognition, especially when it happens in everyday environments. Unlike ads that people scroll past, collectibles are owned, displayed, and revisited. They also create natural conversations. For example, Stanley tumblers became widely popular because people carried them in public and shared them online. Their visibility in everyday life led to more attention and more purchases even without heavy advertising. So instead of disappearing like traditional ads, collectibles continue promoting the brand long after the original purchase. But visibility alone is not enough. Collectibles turn brands into part of everyday culture, allowing them to stay relevant without relying on constant advertising. Cultural relevance is not about being seen, it's about being part of people's lives. Collectibles help brands do this because people interact with them. People don't just recognize the brand, they connect with to a certain lifestyle, a certain community, or even a certain version of yourself. They display them, talk about them, and share them with others. Sometimes, these interactions are small, like a quick comment or a simple post. But over time, those interactions build into larger trends and communities. Collectors often post their collections, revisit old items, and bring them back into trends. Even older collectibles can become popular again when culture shifts. Unlike advertisements that simply delivers a message. Collectibles became part of identity, lifestyle, and community. Because of this, collectibles don't just keep brands visible, they keep them relevant, and that difference is important. Visibility can be brought through advertising, but relevance has to be maintained over time. It depends on whether people continue to care, talk about it, and include it in their daily lives. Collectibles make this possible because they don't disappear. They stay with people, and because of that, they keep the brand part of ongoing conversations. Some critics, however, argue that collectibles can feel like gambling, especially with things like blind boxes or card packs where buyers don't know what they will get. This concern is very understandable because these systems involve chance. However, most collectible markets do not depend on luck alone. Over time, value is shaped by factors like rarity, condition, and demand. For example, rare trading cards or vintage collectibles gain value because collectors recognize their importance, not because of some random chance. So while there may be uncertainty at the moment of purchase, long-term value comes from the market, not from luck. Others also argue that if too many companies produce collectibles, they will lose their exclusivity and become less valuable. At first, this seems logical. However, exclusivity does not depend on the number of companies creating collectibles. It depends on how effectively each company manages its supply. Strong brand maintains value by limiting production and protecting their image. When companies manage scarcity properly, their collectibles remain desirable even in competitive markets. So the issue is not the number of collectibles, but how carefully they are produced and released. A third and last criticism is that companies can manipulate value by controlling supply. And it is true, and to some extent, it's actually necessary. Without some level of control over supply, a product will then feel limited or special in the first place. Limiting supply is what makes a collectible in the first place. However, this only works when it is done responsibly. If companies create fake scarcity or flood the market later, consumers lose trust. That's where resale markets play an important role. They reflect real demand, meaning price rises or fall based on what people are actually willing to pay. Because of this, companies can influence supply, but they cannot fully control value. Consumer demand ultimately decides that. Throughout this speech, I've shown that collectibles are more than simple extras and should be used as part of marketing strategies. They create emotional and nostalgic connections that strengthen the bond between consumers and brands. They generate economic value through scarcity and resale markets, and they provide long-term visibility and engagement by staying present in people's everyday life. These benefits, however, point to something deeper than strategy. Everyone has something they have kept longer than makes sense. A toy from childhood, a card pulled from a pack years ago, a sneaker still sitting in a shoebox long after it stopped fitting. That object did not survive because it was useful. It survived because somewhere along the way, it stopped being a product and started becoming a memory. These objects outlast the campaigns that created them because they become more than just products. They became personal. Collectibles work because they understand something that most marketing ignores. People do not just want to buy things, they want to hold on to them. A brand that becomes part of someone's memory does not need to compete for attention. It already has a place in that person's lives. Companies that still treat collectibles as secondary promotions are leaving real value on the table. The evidence is clear. Emotional connection, economic value, and long-term engagement are not side effects of collectibles. They are the reason collectibles work in the first place. The question is no longer whether collectibles work. It is whether companies are willing to commit to them seriously enough to make them work. Those will not just gain customers, they will gain people who remember them. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Nathan. Good job. Our panelists today are Mr. Moon and Mr. Brahm. Let's let Mr. Moon go first.
Hey, Nathan. First of all, thank you. I think you did a really good job. This seems really well researched and written very well, and I enjoyed your speech. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to ask about a couple of things that I think are going to be a little bit challenging here. But the first thing is, as I was reading through, it occurred to me that a lot of this feels like directed at why companies and how they can benefit, but doesn't really address the negative effects on the consumer. And it feels a little bit like, here's why companies should manipulate consumers even more. Would you care to respond to that kind of harsh criticism there?
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So I believe you want to know about the negative effects of collectibles when companies use them.
It seems like maybe you had chosen to take on the approach of how to help companies, but what would you say for consumers? Is this not just another way for companies to manipulate them through marketing? Is this not just another way for them to get as much as they can out of it by labeling something a collectible?
Okay, thank you for the question. So you're saying that companies can manipulate consumers into buying more?
I think so, especially because you mentioned so much of the emotional effect, and often that can lead to manipulation as well.
Okay, so when people know that they're being manipulated by the companies, they'll feel distrust, and they will eventually stop buying those products. But when companies do not manipulate other consumers like us, their trust maintains, and people will keep on, and that company can become reliable, so people can keep on buying their products. So the negative effects, I think you mean like gambling?
No, I don't mean gambling. I actually hadn't considered any of that about gambling until I saw it in your paper. But no, I mean, you referred to when people know that they're being manipulated, which in the case of manipulation is usually not the case, right? Because they're being manipulated. I guess what I'm saying is when people are responding out of an emotional response, and in this case, it feels like that would overshadow a logical response of like, should I budget for this? Is this a good? I'm not saying that they don't, or not saying that this is rampant or anything like that, but I don't know. It just felt a lot like promoting a practice for companies to just get deeper into consumers' pockets. And so that's what I'm asking. Like, do you feel, okay, could you address that as a graduate from a Christian classical school who would probably not value, digging deeper into people's pockets?
Well, I believe if, like me, myself, if I feel manipulated by other companies, I think I would like stop buying that products. But in that case, for let's say like Pokemon cards, people know like how rare a Charizard is, and they would still keep on buying it, right? They'll feel like probably manipulated. But that's, I think that's what makes a collectible, because in order for a collectible to be a collectible, you need scarcity, and you need to control like how much products you released, and I guess people not feel really manipulated by that.
Thank you. And then I guess my next question is, and this will actually be my last question.
Oh, what? No, it's fine. It's fine.
The topic itself, how did you come to choose this topic, by the way? Yeah.
So, okay, at first, I wanted to just mainly focus on sneakers and shoes because I like collecting them. But like, Mr. Wade disproved my first thesis, so I have to change to something more controversial. So I choose collectibles instead to be more broad. And I'm also like interested in this because myself, I like collecting things, right? And so I wonder why don't like companies just release collectibles so that they can also gain more financial value. Yeah.
Which kind of goes back to my first
Oh yeah,
quite concerned, right?
yeah.
About companies just simply getting more and more value. But I'll pass it on to Mr. Brom.
Okay, Mr. Brom.
Okay, good afternoon, Nat.
Good afternoon.
All right, so first of all, very good presentation. Thank you.
Thank
I really enjoy the explanation, especially about this collectibles. Yeah, and I see that this is a kind of trend that become more and more happening in our surroundings. Yeah. Okay, so my first question will be this, Nathan. In reality, how many people do you think collect the items only because of, it is meaningful, for them? It has what you said as
Like nostalgic emotions.
as the nostalgic emotion, as the experience, as memories, compare to those people who just want to get more money
Yeah.
out of this collectibles. Can you explain?
Okay. Okay, thank you for the question. So, from what I've seen online, I've seen more people buy collectibles just for their personal gain, like to increase their financial, like the amount of money they have. I rarely see people just collect them as memories, although I do see them, like people collecting stamps from like the 1990s just for nostalgic emotions right now. But I believe people buy collectibles. More and more people buy collectibles as of like right now in the present day. People buy them more just for their financial gain.
Okay. So thank you. So what kind of people do you think can promote the company? Because you're talking about, collecting these collectibles as the way to promote the company, advertise the company, right?
Yeah.
So which kind of people do you think can promote the company better? Those people who only think about the money, or those people who collect the items because it is meaningful for them?
From the company's perspective.
Yes.
Okay, so I think when companies first release collectibles, they want that item to be rare, right? Because it's collectibles supposed to be scarce. And so when companies first produce collectibles, they of course, I think they want to gain more of financial value for their company so that they can make more money. But there's also some companies that release collectibles just for nostalgic emotions, like re-releasing the same product as a nostalgic emotion for other people.
Okay. So the bottom line, do you agree with the people that collecting items just to sell it again in a higher price?
From my perspective,
From your perspective?
I think that's fine because we gotta earn money for a living, right? So we gotta do what we gotta do.
So, so even though there's
But we can't like scam people. We just need to follow like in the resale market. If it's like this card is worth $100, then you can't suddenly sell it for like $1 million because then people won't buy it, right?
Okay.
You gotta sell it for the same price.
All right. So at the end, it's all about money.
Yeah. Yes. Of course. No, but not that only though.
Okay. Now my next question. So if we are talking about the market, the collectible markets, okay, there are potentially filled with fake items, right?
Yeah.
Non-authorized or non-authentic products, right? So how can, in your opinion, how can the customer be educated so that they will not buy or will not sell those items and fraud the market?
So there's this thing now called like authentication websites where you can like send, for example, this. You're not sure if it's fake or real, right? There's like websites where you can send this to other people and they can check it for you by looking at like their probably a reference ID or something. Then they can check whether that's real or fake. Because like there's a website called StockX, where you can send in your shoes, and they can verify that shoes for you, whether it's real or fake. If it's fake, then it's fake. If it's real, then you can sell it in their website, in the StockX.
Okay, so for those kind of items, I think it's legit. Yeah,
Yeah.
They can use that. Okay, okay. So, but how if because you say that collectibles also mean that some items that has a meaningful meaning in the past, right? And sometimes those meaningful items do not have like the reference code or do not have that barcode. How can we keep the market healthy from those kind of activities?
Okay, so probably like stamps from 90s or cups or ancient cups. Like, how do you verify them? Oh my god. I'm not sure how you can verify them because it's very, very old. And usually, every product usually have like their own special ID so that they can trace them. But if there's no such thing like that, then you can't really verify them.
You cannot really verify them.
Yeah.
Does that mean that this kind of market is not really healthy and it is not sustainable for the people to jump into it? What do you think?
Okay, so I don't really understand why it's not. I don't really
I
understand.
mean, if you're saying that okay, there's no way to prove that this is true or no,
Yeah.
that means the market is purely based on trust. Am I right?
Not really. Not every product is.
Not every product.
Yeah, not every
Okay.
product.
Okay.
But like, okay, there's also people's like Pawn Stars, if you watch that. Pawn Stars.
Okay.
Okay, no,
I
there's
just,
like.
I just have to make sure that I didn't hear it wrongly.
No, what? No, it's a show called Pawn, Pawn.
Oh, okay.
Stars. Okay.
All right.
Pawn Stars, where they can, where they have like experts on that stuff, like maybe items from the 1980s. It's very hard to verify them, right? Cups, old cups. They have experts on that on the show where they can bring in that person and they can check whether it's real or not. I'm not sure how they can do that, but they can do that.
Okay. All right. So I think this is the last from me, Mr. Wade. So with this situation of the market, and then if I can say mostly, the transaction is just between the buyer and the seller. And then a lot of time, the company is no longer involved in this kind of transaction, right? Because the collectibles are moving from one person to another, to another, to another, right?
Yes.
So how can this kind of market still be a good
Okay.
advertisement for the
Yeah.
company?
Okay, now I understand. So referring back to scarcity, where a company only release a small amount so that buyers like us can buy them, right? Then, for example, there's only 500 cards, and then once they're sold out, the companies won't release them again. So like you'll think that they won't gain any more money because they only release 500, and the price of that 500 cards can probably rise up in value, right? When resellers sell them.
Right.
But because of that, because of the increase in price in value, that actually attracts more and more people because they want to know like, why is this so expensive? And that eventually gives that company advertisement for themselves because their name of the company is more known by other people now because it's more popular now through resellers.
So the people are talking about that company, that brand more and more as they sell the collectibles more and more.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Mr. Wade.
Okay, I have a question for you. Are those shoes you're wearing now, are they $300 collectibles?
Oh, nah. I bought this in the thrift store with Rainbow.
Okay, well, do you have expensive Nike shoes?
Yes, I do.
And how many?
Nah.
Not very
How many? Not only Nike shoes, though. I have like other shoes.
Do you have a collectible pair of Skechers?
Skechers.
Yeah.
Nah. I used to though. Like when
Okay.
I was younger, I used to buy Skechers.
Collectible Skechers?
Collectibles. I don't think there's such thing. as
Yeah,
collectibles.
so that's my point. So how do you, so here's the thing. If I'm a shoe company or anybody, how do I ensure that what I'm going to make as collectibles is really going to work? Don't you have to already have a name established and you have to have a market for collectibles before you can actually create and sell and market collectibles that work? How do you ensure that your products are collectible?
So first of all, not every company can create collectibles because their collectible might not have any value because their name is not known. For example, like Skechers, they're not really well known, right? And how do Nike become a well-known company? They promote their stuff through influencer. Not Skechers, not Skechers. I don't know. Okay, Skechers. Okay, so they have to promote themselves first. Like big names like Nike, they promote them through various celebrities like Kanye West. Oh wait, not Kanye West. Kanye West Adidas. Like other companies. I mean other celebrities. So first, Skechers have to promote their stuff first, and then when they're well known, they can start selling collectibles.
So to me, Skechers is well known. They're just not cool, right?
No, they're
Who's
cool, they're
gonna-
cool, they're cool.
Right? It's about buying cool collectible shoes. And by the way, I cannot possibly comprehend collecting shoes. It's just, I don't know. It's hard for me to grasp that very well. But also, collectibles, it seems to me that many times collectibles are things that take off even though the company may not have necessarily started out trying to market them as collectibles. They take off. Like, it seems like I've read a story about tourists to Japan. They go to the Family Mart and everybody collects socks that the Family Mart buys. I don't think they intended those to be collectibles,
no,
but
I think-
suddenly they are.
I think they in a way do because they probably only released them like a small amount, like 100, because they wanted that item to be rare.
Do you think they started that way, or was it like they just realized people were collecting their socks and now they suddenly jumped on the wagon there and
No, I don't think at first they intended for that like socks to be collectible. They probably at first probably they sell like loads of them, then they sold out quickly and it's like famous on social media. So then they began to wonder like, why don't we just make this a collectible so that the price will increase?
Yeah, right. That's what I think. And so, if you're promoting this idea that companies ought to use collectibles as a marketing tool, but the problem to me is, how do I know that what I produce as collectibles is going to be really collected? Right. In fact, it could be a big waste of money if I'm Skechers and I say, here are my new $300, $500 collectible Skechers shoes, and nobody buys them. Didn't I just waste a lot of money on that?
Yeah, so first you obviously can't immediately release collectibles. You have to promote them first to make them well known. Like so you first have to probably post them on social media, then see how the audience react. They say like the shoe is fire and I want to buy this quickly ASAP. Then okay, then this might work. Then you can make that a collectible. But if people aren't interested, then I don't think you can make that a collectible. You can yeah.
Okay. Any other questions from the panelists? Mr. Daniel, Mr. Moon, anything else? All right. Yeah, I'm almost done here. Almost done. So you talked a lot about Pokemon cards and baseball cards and things like that, but I don't know what brand those are. Those are just cards that are collectible in themselves, right? Isn't that different than a brand creating something that's collectible? They're just that whole company is about collectibles, right? Or am I missing something?
Okay, so so you're saying like the companies who release those cards are unknown.
In other words, yeah, I mean, you're not promoting a brand, you're just promoting Pokemon cards. You're promoting the very thing that's also collectible, not a brand, right? In other words, McDonald's can create collectible Happy Meal toys, and suddenly you're promoting McDonald's by those toys. But isn't the Pokemon cards, they're just promoting Pokemon cards, right? Nothing more than that. Is that right?
Okay, so for football cards, soccer cards, there's lots of soccer cards, but I think they don't really promote their cards. Wait, no. They promote their cards, but they don't really promote their company's name, right? But when people buy them and they look at the back of the card, there's the writing like Tops, and that's the company's name. So then, in a way, they actually kind of like promote their own name through those cards.
That's true. I have a whole I have 3 boxes of football cards somewhere in a closet, and I know they're all Tops, and I don't even know if Tops is still around, but yeah, I know that brand. Okay, that's it. Thank you, Nathan. Good job. All right, we're going to meet over here, friends, families, panelists, advisor for photos.